I'm going to ask that again. What if the cameras were not rolling there? Well, we have four perspectives on the show this evening. We have Kiran Bedi with us. She's on the top left of your screen there. Kajal Menon is with us. She's Executive Director of Childline, very active on child-related issues. We have Vinod Mehta, Editor-in-Chief of Outlook, and also with us here in the studio is Kiran Gera, who runs network advertising. And Kiran had actually called us up today. She's after this incident was telecast on television cameras. She had very strong views, and we decided to call her in as well. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us. Well, Kiran, first let me start with you. You saw those pictures there, and it shook you up. You'd like just share what you felt with the rest of our viewers.
I watched it on another channel, and I was horrified because I just couldn't believe that this was happening. And you know, you're watching something. You're helpless and you're outraged. And you just don't know. I mean, this is my country and I'm a citizen of this country, and why is this happening in my country? It was horrifying.
I know. And at the same time, a question is raised. What if the cameras were not rolling? Kiran Bedi, what if the cameras were not rolling? Because those policemen actually seemed very upset that the cameras were rolling, and when they were reminded they'd lose their jobs if they carried on brutalizing that girl.
That is why we need cameras all over. I guess that's the only way we'll really know what's going on. I think that's a message. The only way we would get to really know what's going not right is use more and more of IT. And that's the only way we'll bring people to book. But the point is, this guy, when I saw this picture on him, my first impression was that he's actually not beating up that woman, that little child. He's actually venting out his own frustration. Because this is the only way these overstressed, negative-oriented cops or exhausted cops or wooden cops are venting out on the meek and the poor, the weak and the poor, because they get beaten up from the top and they pass it on to the meek. And this was my first impression when I saw कि ये अपना बदला ले रहा है, अपने गुस्सा निकाल रहा है उस बच्चे पर. So basically he's venting out. And we have no measurability in our country. We want solutions. We have no measurability on the level of frustration our 1.4 million have, because this rank is 1.4 million. We are 1.5 million cops around in the country. And for rank from inspector to constable is almost 1.4. What are we doing with them? In what way are we cleaning them up or de-stressing them or listening to them? So they went out, they go and distress at the poor and the weak. That's my first impression when I saw it.
I get your point there, but you know, we cannot, I mean, there is absolutely no explanation that can be offered, Ms. Kiran Bedi, for that. And, you know, while you may have a point, the danger in completely agreeing with your point is that one may end up giving an excuse for this incident. Tomorrow, some policeman may do something worse and say, oh, you know, I was overstressed. I'm one of 1.4 million. There should be many more people doing my job. I don't get a good salary, and hence I will brutalize 6-year-old girls on the streets. So that's not an explanation.
Honor, when I say that, in fact, when I'm saying that, I'm putting the onus on the political leadership and the police leadership. In fact, I'm putting the onus there. It's their job to de-stress. It's their job to retrain. It's their job to give them rest. It's their job to desensitize them. Yeah. It's the leadership policies. We just can't get away with political statements. That's not enough.
I get your point. I get your point. But at the same time, there's something wrong in the head. At the same time, somebody is making, you know, misinterpreting the use of the uniform there to do that to the child. Vinod Mehta, your comments on this gruesome television news report.
I'd love to express outrage, revulsion, shock, horror is inadequate. Of course, all these things we must do, but it's inadequate to do this after watching this absolutely shameful display of sadism on your screens. But you see, we have to understand another reality, that these kind of incidents happen every day in India. These brutalities and cruelties are inflicted on the poor of this country. Only the rich of this country can get some justice from the police. This is commonplace for the poor in this country and the disempowered in this country. The second thing I'd like to say is that there can be no rationalization for this kind of brutality. I mean to say that police are stressed. I have great respect for Kiran Bedi, but there can be no rationalization for this. You can't say we'll police reforms. The root cause of this is police reforms. We got very upset when somebody suggested the root cause for Bombay incident was the Kashmir issue. There is no root cause for this. The policemen who we saw on your screen were obviously not just beating up this helpless girl, but they were enjoying the act. It seemed to give them some pleasure. Now, all of this we have to think about very seriously, and we must accept that you have, Arnab caught one incident. As I speak to you, I'm sure there are hundreds of other helpless girls all over India getting the same kind of treatment. We must ensure that the poor of this country, the marginalized of this country, get some semblance of justice. They can never get the justice that you and I get. But this cannot be the justice that's inflicted on them, beating them up and locking them up and torturing them. This is not justice, but we must accept that this is the commonplace justice. This is the everyday justice that the poor of this country get. And I think we must all fight against that.